before the pandemic, the college admissions process was already a complex, confusing, and very competitive educational landscape to navigate.
Now with the college campuses across the country closed, classes have moved online and so many more changes in store. There's a lot of uncertainty for students applying to college this fall. Joining us to tackle the college admission process is educational consultant and founder of Thinque Prep. It's Joyee Lin. Joyee, welcome.
Frank, thanks for having me.
Of course, let's get right to it because you have a lot of good advice. First, you say if you're thinking about a certain college, you should take one of the virtual tours of these colleges. Tell us how to do that.
Yeah, so since colleges can't have in-person tours, they've shifted many of their admissions processes online. So you can join an interactive virtual tour, or you can do a live Zoom info session, and some of these are offered every day. So this is a great way for you to explore colleges around the country or even around the world when you haven't been able to do so in the past. I have a list of the college virtual tour policies on my website if you'd like to visit that. And here's a little bit of insider info. Some colleges may track if you register for a virtual visit or info session and use that when they're reading through your application.
Okay, Joey, the next thing you say is students need to decide their game plan when it comes to standardized tests like the SAT, the ACT. Talk about some of the changes that some schools have made when it comes to standardized testing and what students should do.
So since March, basically, no students have been able to take the SAT or ACT. The Cal State system, for example, is disregarding tests completely, whereas the University of California system is test optional. However, that doesn't mean they're not going to disregard the test. They'll still be using test scores for admissions purposes and scholarship consideration. So my general advice is to take the test if it's absolutely safe for you to do so and you think you can do well on that. The last time I checked, there are testing sites available for the December 2020 test dates, and you can still submit that test in time for your college application this year.
And then the dreaded, in some cases, essay portion of the application. That's such a tough thing for a lot of young people to do. And I would imagine that there is going to be this sense that, hey, I should write about the pandemic. This is something that really has affected me. What do you think about that?
Common App or whatever applications that different schools are using, they are putting a little essay prompt for how the pandemic may have adversely affected you. But if you're thinking about doing it as your main statement to the colleges, I would strongly recommend against doing that. There's so many other facets of you that you should highlight more than just the past 3-6 months.
Okay, and you've always recommended this even before the pandemic. You say that all high school seniors should consider a gap year. Parents might go, Joey, don't tell my kid to take a gap year. But what students do you recommend maybe should do that gap year and why?
Certain students during this pandemic, they've decided that they want to stay closer to home, or maybe finances are an issue. For certain students that are maybe on the younger end of their class, they might want to take a year so they can just mature, learn things better. You can apply for colleges this year, but then request a deferral so that you can take this time off. But don't spend that time off at home. Find a job, do some volunteer work, do some service work. The Gap Year Association website has a lot of amazing resources for students who want to consider taking this year off.
And your last piece of advice for high school seniors is don't get pandemic brain. Explain what you mean by that.
So this online learning transition has been difficult for a lot of students. However, if you're the type of student that can demonstrate a drive to stay engaged in your learning or stay engaged in your community, it can really set you apart from other applicants for some of the more selective schools. So what you can do is you can host local Zoom concerts for the Senior Citizen Center. You can learn an online skill like coding. You can even tutor younger kids in your community if you want to. But this is just ways of staying active when you're stuck at home.
Great.
Yeah, really good information, Joey, during this uncertain time. Thanks for being with us. If you want more on Joey and his insider tips on tackling the college admissions process, you can go to thinqueprep.com. You can follow them on Instagram as well.